Welcome to Real Easy Cooking with Robert. I'm Robert, and today we're making a spomelette. Yes, I'm using the leftover Spam and an omelet and putting a twist on it, and we're going to try that up today. The first thing we want to do is we want to prep our toppings. I know it's counterintuitive, but eggs cook so fast that we prep the toppings. The Spam is already prepped. It's already done, cooked, it just needs to be reheated. So we start with the green pepper. Obviously, I'm not going to use all this in one simple omelet. That would be crazy, and then you don't really have an omelet, you have more like, I don't know, an egg salad. Salad with an egg cooked in it. Something dumb like that. Didn't want all the seeds in there. So I'm just going to take one little bit of this. Don't worry, I'm not throwing the rest away. We'll save it. For a 3-egg omelet altogether, you want like between 1/4 and 1/2 cup to a cup of toppings. Wet toppings. Moisture becomes an issue with omelets because eggs are very wet and you're cooking out, when you cook things, you're cooking out the moisture. And I like my green peppers small because I don't want it distracting. So that will go in there. Now, I'm also going to put some mushrooms in there, but I don't want to put the mushrooms in yet. And that's probably the right amount. Because the mushroom, well, I want to cook it a little bit. I don't want to saute it. If it's sauteed all the way, it gets brown and mushy. I just want to take some of the crisp off when I cook it. So sometimes I do buy the pre-sliced mushrooms. They're usually the same price, and you know, I'm lazy. And that will probably, a little bit more. Might as well cut one whole mushroom. No big chunks. I mean, that's a big chunk, but it'll be okay. It's a mushroom. I like mushrooms, so obviously if you don't like mushrooms, you wouldn't put mushroom in there. And that will wait a minute. Get this away to save for later. Let's start sauteing our green peppers. I always put a drop of oil in. It helps convey the heat, keeps things from sticking, even though these pans don't stick very much. And I'm still using grapeseed oil. Someone else told me about some other oils that are supposed to be more healthy, avocado oil or something. I just haven't tried it yet, so I don't know if it imparts a different flavor. We're going to want to add some Spam to it also. You want the Spam to be about twice as much as the green pepper is in there. Because I'm also going to add the mushroom. And we want equal amounts of ham, Spam, and wet toppings. Mushrooms and green peppers are considered wet toppings because of their moisture content. They have such a high moisture content. Because green peppers are so crunchy, I want to break a lot of the crunch out of the green pepper. That's why I'm sauteing it on high heat. The Spam needs to be fully heated up. It's leftovers, so it was in the fridge, so it's ice fucking cold. And ice cold toppings on eggs is gross. Eggs are kind of gross as they are if you think about them. Now I will, with full disclosure, tell y'all, there's a good possibility this won't turn out. I mean, I love eggs. I eat a lot of eggs. I grew up eating eggs. There was a time when we were poor and all we had was eggs and green beans and toast. So I've learned to make a lot of eggs, but omelets have always been a mystery to me, mainly because I've never had pans like this that actually everything don't stick to. You know, cast iron was a non-stick pan for me growing up. So most of the time my omelets don't turn out and I end up with more like a scrambled eggs with toppings. So, and that's okay, it still tastes as good, it just doesn't have the visual appeal. Now you can see there's the green peppers are starting to cook. They're starting to get, pull one out here. You can see that. Starting to get that brown on the top. That's what we want. It means it's starting to break down and lose some moisture. Alright, now we can throw the mushrooms in real quick. Oh. I make a mess when I cook. That's why in my house we have a rule. Well, a trade. I cook, wife cleans. It wasn't until a few years later she found out she got the raw end of that deal. Of course, my answer was no take-backsies. Okay, there's our toppings. You can see the mushrooms are just starting to turn a little bit. They're not sauteed, they're just starting to cough up a little bit of the moisture. Starting to get that bruised look. And the Spam has fully turned brown and it's hot. Spam is way less mushy if you thoroughly brown all the sides. Just saying. Okay, toppings are done. See, nothing's stuck. Now let's do the eggs. Okay, eggs. We're doing a 3-egg omelet. So I brought out 3 eggs. And crack them in the bowl. Yes, I crack them on the side. Yes, I do them one at a time. Yes, I use 2 hands. Yes, sometimes you will get shell in with it. It's not that big of a deal. You just scoop it out. That's why God gave you fingers. People try to make cooking sound all way complicated than it is. It really isn't that complex. Okay, 3 eggs, about a tablespoon of water. Yes, water, not milk. It's one time I measure, that's just a scoop. It doesn't really need to be exact, it's just a little splash of water. But if I just splash some water, I'm gonna splash way the fuck too much. And you might as well add the pepper now, that way it gets thoroughly mixed in as opposed to doing it later on. And whisk. First I break them up a little bit, then just whisk the hell out of it. Your goal is to get homogenized, all equal, and break it all up and incorporate some air into it. Some people use a fork, but there's no need for that. No need to use a fork when you actually have whisks, because I'm in a real house. I mean, hell, even I can afford a whisk. 3-egg omelet takes an 8-inch frying pan. This one is 8 inches, as it says. frying pan on pan thing, turn on flame. Now what temperature to cook it at? That seems to be a big problem. Some people cook them at very high temperature, some people very low temperature. Home ec and cooking classes always told me that proteins have to be cooked on low temperatures, except for eggs. That eggs are the exception to the rule because of their insanely short cooking time. They should be cooked on high temperature because they allow, on high temperature, you retain more of the protein. Don't know if any of that's still true or if that was only true back in the day when I went to school, but oh well, that's what I learned. Now I am adding a crank of salt to the eggs, not for flavor, but because the salt makes the eggs fluffier, I guess. The salt and the water both do something to the proteins. It really doesn't matter on the science, does it? I mean, I'm not a scientist, you're not. This is food. See, I just put a splash of oil in there. The drop instantly cooks, starts to bubble. Pan's almost hot enough. I like a hot pan for my eggs. I cook my eggs fast. Alright, we can dump it in. Bring down medium heat. So it's kind of like making scrambled eggs in a way. And that you're now I'm not making a French omelet. This is technically an American fold. But in reality, it's alright, just when it's starting to get like this, then you want to spread it out. Add your toppings. Oh, too many toppings as usual for me. You should see how I make my pizzas. Now cheese. Surprisingly, a lot of people add sharp cheddar. The problem with that is it is a low moisture cheese, which means it doesn't melt very well before the eggs cook. So what you do is you mix it up with a little mozzarella or Munster or one of your wetter cheeses. Let it cook a few minutes here. Go around the edge, make sure it's all loose. So these pans are amazing, nothing's sticking. Chose the right pan. Alright, let's fold this over. Whoop. See, broke apart on me. That happens quite a bit, mainly because I put too many damn toppings in it, but it looks good to me anyway, so I don't care. It's gonna go in my rat hole. Bam! Yeah, I just flipped it out of the pan right onto the plate. Here's where you could add some more cheese on top. Here's where you'd want to add a little cheddar because it is extra hot coming out the top. And this is mainly just for looks. You could add some chives, scallions, onion greens, anything like that, but I don't have any of those. So this is it. So let's see how this tastes. Definitely like that. My problem before with always cooking omelets was my frying pan, not my recipe. Having a frying pan where shit doesn't stick all the time is great. And it's been real easy cooking with Robert. I'm done. And that's okay, it still tastes as good. It just doesn't have the visual appeal. Of course, my answer was no take backsies.